Hello everyone, I'm Alex Smith and this is Rupert Honeywood from Business Growth Bureau. Today we're going to be focusing on if you're a sole consultant, mentor, coach, trainer, who you need to really plug in around you to kind of get the best from your sales team, or whether you actually need a sales team at all. So I suppose, Rupert, where do we start with this? Do we start looking at actually whether you need a sales team, or what part of this do we really start at?
Yeah, I think one very good place to start with this is really this whole issue around the rule of 3/3. So, for example, let's say you've got typically 260 working days in a year, and it may be after you've taken your holidays out and you're allowed for a bit of sickness or other things you're doing with the family, that reduces down to about 220 working days. As a rough guide, the average consultant, coach, trainer, mentor will find they have about 75 working days a year. So you've got the rule of 3/3. And the reason is to a lot of coaches, mentors, trainers, consultants need to go out there networking to try and find clients. They'll also be putting together proposals. They'll also be doing quite a bit for themselves for self-development. So you've only got about a third of the 220 days or so as billable time.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's really important. People understand that, because what you then need to do is you think, well, okay, how can I bring the amount of billable time up to go from 70 days possibly to 90 or 100 days? And there's lots of things you put in place.
Do you think like networking days and things like that are a dying thing? So in terms of taking time out to go to networking events and so on and so forth, with the power of social media and the internet now, is that a dying thing, or?
No, I wouldn't. I'd say a lot of the old skills still very much apply, and obviously it does depend where you're located as well. But there tends to be a very good choice of different networking organisations go out there, and of course if you build up relationships in the right way, you will find you can get some really good businesses through networking and through referrals. And the big plus there is that people to a certain extent will be a little bit pre-qualified before you move things on to the next stage. The big minus with it is incredibly time consuming, can be a little bit soul destroying, and also it's not scalable. And obviously if you see the business ultimately being bigger than yourself, then, or you want to build up an associate network around you, then you may want to do some of that still, but actually you want to be looking at lots of other things in place to really leverage your time.
Yeah, and also, so moving then on, so if say I'm a sole kind of consultant, or I'm a coach, mentor, or trainer, who do I plug around me? Do I have a sales team behind me? Do I do it myself? Am I the salesperson? Or things like virtual PAs? What do I do in that respect?
Yeah, well, again, obviously it's nice if you're in a position where you can afford to have a salesperson or sales team behind you. Typically what happens a lot of the time, especially when it's fairly early stages in the business development, your business development, is you may end up by bringing in a very good virtual PA. So, and it's really important you bring the right person in. But there is a really good supply of people like that now who are well trained, who can represent you and your brand. And the big thing about them is that they can really help you to leverage time.
I suppose it'd be a good point to mention this time, that you should have a great understanding of why you do what you do, so you can convey that message to people that work around you, right? The sales team are only as good as around you if they believe in the message like you do, or they believe in the product or service like you do. I suppose it's a really good time to mention.
Yeah, in fact, that's a great point, because actually what we found through experience is that people can really struggle to get their core proposition across to potential clients. If they have trouble getting their proposition across to potential clients, how would you expect a really good virtual PA to be able to do that work for you?
Well, in one of the previous videos, we made a great point in terms of actually what do I sell against also what are people buying, and I suppose it's the way you convey your message, it's the way you talk about the product or service that you actually do, especially if it's yourself, the way you talk about yourself and how you believe in yourself. If that's true and you genuinely think what you have to talk about or what you have to share or sell is truly of value, you should easily be able to convey that message, right?
Yeah, and that's really important. And of course, the proof in the pudding is if you actually have already got a number of clients and you've been in the market for a little while, then you probably are going to be pretty confident in conveying that message. But it's much more of a challenge to newer people in this space because they haven't got things as well rehearsed. But you know, the good thing is if you can get that right, what you can then do is you can start to really leverage time by using a number of different initiatives.
And I suppose it'd be a good time to mention as well things like about salespeople should just be selling, in terms of that's really a basic thing to say, quite an obvious thing to say. But a lot of people get wrapped up with salespeople making outbound calls or doing a lot of the donkey work essentially to kind of get them to the right client. But you should really have two separate departments in terms of one that's dealing with kind of the lead generation side of it and people that are just actually closing. Would that be a good point to make?
Yes, it would do. Obviously, if the business is a little bit more established, you probably would have the luxury of having that. As a one-person business, typically what would be more a case of is you need to position yourself particularly well where you're getting leads from a number of different sources. And obviously we share a lot of valuable content around about how to go about that. But if you can create a lead flow where people are actually putting their hands up and asking to have a conversation, the trick then is to be able to actually find a really good way of following those people through. And for example, there's a number of clients that we have ourselves where they are after some quite high value clients, but they're very time challenged, like most people. So what they've done, for example, is bought in a really good virtual PA. So when people express interest, put their hands up and say they want some full conversation, the virtual PA will initially do some of the qualification, ask the right questions. The virtual PA there in that scenario isn't there to sell. It's to make sure there's a good fit for both sides. If it looks if there's a good fit, then that virtual PA will tend to book an appointment in with that coach, trainer, and consultant.
Is there anything we can plug in either side of the process in terms of to help pre-qualify people? Now, obviously, I know that what we do internally, but what for people watching, whether you're running a larger company where you've actually employed a team of this behind you, or whether you're working on your own, is there anything you can plug in before the process begins in terms of to help pre-qualify people?
Yeah, there's something that can work very well. As for example, you could develop your own form of scorecard. So with that, or diagnostic, and if you get that right, then the good thing is you could then train your virtual PA again to ask the right questions, or you even can make a web link available, and that helps prospects or potential clients to rule themselves in and out or going through this process. So that can work very well. But in order to do that, of course, you have to understand what questions are going to be asked, what really motivates people, what's driving people to make a decision to use your service.
And in a general way, I know this is quite hard and it's going to be specific to each business, but what kind of questions are they? So for people watching right now, what are maybe some crucial questions to ask potential clients to help qualify them in or out?
Right, okay. Well, this is a bit general because obviously these questions could be very specific. But for example, if you've got a product mix which may start from £1,000 or £2,000 up to £5,000-10,000, going up to £50,000 or whatever it may be, so you've got a number of different product propositions to suit different types of client, then it may well be that you need to plug things in around that in terms of the questionnaire to try and establish people's affordability. And also you need to try and ask questions like, what are your top 3 challenges? What are the top 3 things which are working particularly well for you? So you ask the person, in effect, to think about perhaps 3 or 4 key sentences around that, because that then enables your virtual PA to be able to ask the right questions, and you're getting people to focus.
And in terms of getting the best, in terms of getting the best kind of out your sales team and so on and so forth, what more can we cover? What else can kind of help just to share some value around this for the people watching?
Yeah, well, the good thing is that once you've got the virtual PA to just do that for you, that virtual PA can then book in either a video conference for you, a video call in, or a meeting. And obviously, you knowing your product or service are probably going to be the best person to close that piece of business. But what we're talking about here will really help you to leverage some of the opportunities that are coming through and get to closer to that 80, 90, 100 hours billable time, days of billable time over a 12-month period.
Perfect. Well, hopefully you've enjoyed this video so far. Obviously, this is just a bit of an insight in terms of how to maybe get the most out of your team. This is just our perception on it. Thank you so much for watching. My name's Alex Smith and this is Rupert Honeywood from Business Growth Bureau. Thank you.
Thank you.